Welcome to Truthful Manipulation. In a world where truth is bent, facts are framed, and influence is too often used without conscience, this podcast stands for something different. I'm Dave Kelsey, along with H. Daniel Mujahid, and together we expose manipulation, defend integrity, and help you see clearly in a world determined to confuse you. Welcome back to Truthful Manipulation, the podcast where we ask uncomfortable questions, laugh at uncomfortable answers, and occasionally wonder how some people got promoted without first passing a basic humanity inspection. I'm Dave.
And I'm Daniel.
And today's episode's called, What Happens When the Leaders Prove They're Not Deserving of the Positions They Hold? And Daniel, I have to tell you, this topic makes me nervous.
Why, Dave?
Because the list of examples is so long, we may need a second podcast, a storage unit, and maybe federal funding.
Now, we are not naming names today, are we?
Good.
Because we don't have time.
Also good.
And because this issue is bigger than one person, one party, one company, one organization, one church, masjid, or temple, one sports team, or one family.
Exactly. This is about a pattern.
A dangerous pattern.
The pattern where people get power, get authority, get titles, get corner offices, get microphones, get security details, get parking spots with their names on them.
And then prove they should not be trusted with a stapler.
Not even the good stapler.
Especially not the good stapler.
Because once a leader starts misusing office supplies, democracy's only 3 meetings away from collapse.
That's not the lesson, is it?
It could be.
Well, yep. And the other part of the lesson is this. A position does not make someone worthy. The person has to prove they are worthy of the position.
And when they prove they're not,
then the rest of us have a responsibility to stop pretending.
Let's start with one of the biggest manipulations in society. We're trained to respect titles. President, CEO, pastor, church, coach, director, owner, chairman, manager, principal, founder, influencer, expert, consultant, and of course, assistant to the regional manager.
Now, that one may be the most dangerous.
Absolutely. Give somebody a clipboard and a walkie-talkie, and suddenly they're Napoleon in khakis.
The problem is that we often confuse the title with the character.
Yes, we assume that because someone reached the position, they must have earned it.
And sometimes they did.
And sometimes they didn't.
And sometimes they inherited it.
Sometimes they politicked their way into it.
Sometimes they intimidated people.
Sometimes they were the last person standing after everybody qualified quit.
And sometimes they were promoted because they looked confident.
That one scares me.
It should.
Because confidence without competence is just a TED Talk with consequences.
Exactly. A title can open the door, but character has to keep the room from catching fire. A position gives someone authority, but it does not automatically give them wisdom.
You can put a crown on a raccoon, it's still going through your trash at midnight.
And probably blaming the neighbor.
That's leadership failure right there.
No, that's wildlife.
Same attitude sometimes.
Well, here's the danger, Dave. Dear audience, once people accept the title as proof of worthiness, they stop asking important questions.
Questions like, are they honest? Are they competent? Are they humble? Can they handle criticism? Do they tell the truth? Do they protect people? Do they accept responsibility? Do they serve the mission? Or do they serve themselves?
Yep, that's the difference. A real leader serves the responsibility of the position. A bad leader uses the position to serve themselves.
That right there's the whole episode.
We still have 30 minutes, Dave.
I know, I just wanted credit early.
And that is why you are not in charge of the whole show.
Fair.
When someone gets a leadership position, society often gives them the benefit of the doubt. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. People deserve a fair chance. But the benefit of the doubt is not supposed to become a lifetime membership.
At some point, doubt is no longer the issue. Evidence is.
As you go, if a leader keeps making selfish decisions, if they keep lying, if they keep blaming others, if they keep punishing truth tellers, if they keep choosing image over integrity, then the real question is no longer, should we give them more time? The real question is, how much damage are we willing to excuse?
That's heavy,
It should be.
but also accurate.
That too.
Let's talk about warning signs, because unworthy leaders rarely show up wearing a name tag that says, "Hello, my name is Insecurity wearing a suit."
Although that would save everyone a lot of time.
It really would.
The first warning sign is simple. They cannot admit mistakes. A real leader can say, I was wrong. A bad leader says, mistakes were made.
That phrase comes with sirens.
Absolutely. Mistakes were made is what people say when they want the sentence to have no fingerprints.
Right, the mistake just wandered in off the street.
Who broke the organization?
Not me. A mistake happened.
No. A leader who cannot admit mistakes cannot correct mistakes. And a leader who cannot correct mistakes becomes a manufacturer of new mistakes.
Like a factory.
Indeed, Dave.
But instead of making cars, it makes excuses.
That's the second warning signal coming. They blame everyone else.
This is where every failure has a villain. The staff failed, the media failed, the customers failed, the voters failed, the previous leader failed, the weather failed, the printer failed, Mercury was in retrograde, some intern used the wrong font.
Now, at some point, if everything around the leader is always the problem, the leader may be the weather system.
Ooh, that's good.
Thank you. I thought you'd like that.
You sound like a leadership meteorologist.
Well, there is a high-pressure system of nonsense moving in from the executive suite.
Third warning sign. They take credit for success and outsource failure.
Indeed, they do. When things go well, they say, I built this. When things go wrong, they say, we need to investigate who was responsible.
And it's never them.
Never, never.
They are like emotional landlords. They collect the rent when things are good and disappear when the pipes burst.
That is painfully accurate, Dave. A real leader shares credit and accepts responsibility. A bad leader hoards credit and distributes blame. Fourth warning sign, they punish truth tellers.
That one's huge because bad leaders don't hate lies. They hate being exposed.
Indeed, they do. They are not offended by dishonesty. They are offended by accountability.
So when someone says, hey, this is wrong, the bad leader hears, this person is dangerous.
Correct. Because truth threatens the performance.
And some leaders are not actually leading, they're performing leadership.
Woo, there it is.
They learned the tone, they learned the phrases, they learned the inspirational LinkedIn post voice. Team, today we're leaning into excellence while aligning strategic transformation with a value-based synergy.
Now that sentence should be just flat out illegal.
It's hurt people.
If your leaders use 15 words where honesty needed 4, be careful.
What are the 4 words?
I made a mistake.
Fifth warning sign. They demand loyalty instead of earning trust.
Yes, indeed. This is one of the biggest signs of leadership failure. Real leaders earn loyalty through honesty, consistency, courage, and service. Bad leaders demand loyalty because they know they have not earned trust.
And they usually define loyalty as silence.
They do this. To them, loyalty means don't question me, don't correct me, don't challenge me, don't embarrass me, don't tell the truth if the truth makes me look bad.
So basically, be loyal to me by betraying reality.
Yep, that's it.
That's not loyalty. That's a group hallucination.
And that brings us to another warning sign. They protect image over reality. The report looks good. The press release sounds good. The photo op looks good. The slogan sounds good. But underneath it, people are exhausted. Problems are ignored. Truth is punished. And the mission is suffering.
That's when leadership becomes theater.
Theater indeed.
And not good theater. Not Broadway. More like a middle school play where the backdrop falls over and the mayor keeps clapping.
Bad leaders often spend more energy managing perception than fixing reality.
Because reality is harder.
Reality requires work. Perception requires lighting.
And a fog machine.
Some leaders love a fog machine, Dave.
Because nobody can see the dumpster fire. This episode of Truthful Manipulation is brought to you by the official condition of modern leadership. How did this person get promoted? Have you ever looked at someone in charge and thought, surely there was an application process? And then you remember maybe the application was just, can you talk confidently? Can you blame others? Can you use the word strategic while making eye contact? Can you survive a meeting without answering the actual question? Then congratulations, you may already be overqualified. But here at Truthful Manipulation, we believe leadership should require more than a title, a lanyard, and the ability to say, let's circle back. So visit truthfulmanipulation.com, check out the podcast, check out the book, and remember, if your leader says circle back more than they say I'm responsible, keep your eyes open. And now back to this week's episode.
Now, audience, let's have a little discussion and thought about followers.
Careful. People don't like that part.
I know. But bad leaders do not operate alone. They are protected by systems, excuses, fear, loyalty, identity, and people who would rather defend failure than admit they were fooled.
That's the uncomfortable part. Sometimes people keep supporting a bad leader because admitting the leader failed would mean admitting they were wrong.
I agree with you. And many people would rather carry a lie for 10 years than admit they were tricked for 10 minutes.
That sentence needs its own chair.
Yeah, let it steep.
It's sitting.
Good. One reason people defend bad leaders is the sunk cost fallacy.
That's when people keep investing in a bad decision because they already invested so much.
That's it. They supported the leader. They defended the leader. They argued for the leader. They made excuses for the leader. Maybe lost friendships over the leader. So now, when the evidence comes in, they do not think, I should reconsider. They think, I have to defend my past choices.
That's right, because changing your mind feels like losing.
But changing your mind when the evidence changes is not weakness, it's maturity.
It's also cheaper than continuing to ride the disaster bus.
Some people stay on the bus because they bought a ticket, Dave.
Even after the driver says, I don't believe in brakes.
Another reason is, let's call it tribal identity.
That's a huge one.
People begin to see the leader as a symbol of their side, their group, their team, their movement, their worldview, their identity. So criticism of the leader feels like criticism of them personally.
And that's when things get dangerous because then accountability becomes betrayal.
That's the way they take it. And when accountability becomes betrayal, corruption becomes protected.
That's not just politics. That happens in companies, churches, families, sports teams, schools, nonprofits, neighborhood associations, and fantasy football leagues.
You bring that up a lot, Dave.
Yeah, because Gary still hasn't paid the entry fee.
Let it go, man.
Leadership requires accountability, Daniel.
Gary is not the point.
Gary's always the point.
Another reason people defend unworthy leaders is fear. Fear of losing status. Fear of losing access. Fear of being punished. Fear of being excluded. Fear of being called disloyal. Fear of being targeted.
And bad leaders understand fear. They use it.
They do. A leader who relies on fear is not leading. They are controlling.
And there's a difference. Leadership says, follow me because the mission matters. Control says, follow me or else.
Or else.
And manipulation says, follow me, and if it goes wrong, it's your fault.
Now, there's also what we call hero worship.
Oh, yes. The leader becomes larger than life. People stop evaluating behavior. They start protecting the myth.
And that's dangerous because myths do not require accountability.
That's right. People start saying things like, they must know what they're doing. They have a plan. They're playing chess. They're misunderstood. They're surrounded by bad people. They're being attacked because they're effective.
And really, sometimes they're not playing chess. Sometimes they are eating the pieces.
And calling it strategy.
Yep.
I love when people say they're playing 4D chess. No, sometimes they're playing checkers on a pizza box.
And losing.
To themselves.
And the point is, when people worship the leader, they stop protecting the mission. That's how organizations rot. That's how institutions collapse. That's how families break down. And that's how movements lose their very soul.
Because the leader becomes more important than the truth.
Yes, indeed. And once the leader becomes more important than the truth, manipulation has won the room.
Let's talk about the cost, because bad leadership is not just annoying, it's expensive.
Very expensive, Dave.
It costs money, trust, morals, time, energy, opportunity, talent, reputation, and sometimes lives, sometimes freedom, sometimes the future of an entire organization or society.
And the people who pay the highest price are usually not the people who cause the damage.
That's exactly right. Executives get golden parachutes. Workers get, we appreciate your service, which is corporate language for, please return your badge by Friday.
Citizens pay for political failure. Employees pay for executive arrogance. Congregations pay for spiritual corruption. Athletes pay for bad coaching. Children pay for adult ego. Families pay for the person who refuses to be accountable. Unworthy leadership always sends the bill downward.
That's powerful.
And that's truth.
Bad leaders rarely suffer first.
Correct. The damage rolls downhill.
Like a shopping cart with one bad wheel.
Is that your analogy?
Yes, because everyone has experienced it. You walk into the grocery store thinking today will be normal, and then the cart starts pulling hard left into the cereal display, and suddenly you're apologizing to a cardboard tiger.
That's oddly relevant.
Bad leadership is a shopping cart with a broken wheel. Everybody else is trying to steer it.
When leaders are unworthy of the position, good people leave.
That's a huge sign. When the honest people, the competent people, the experienced people, and the people with integrity start leaving, pay attention.
Pay attention, because bad leaders often call that disloyalty. But sometimes it's just human survival.
People don't always leave organizations. Sometimes they leave leaders.
Yep, exactly. And sometimes they leave because telling the truth has become professionally dangerous.
Which means the organization has become allergic to reality.
Allergic. And once an organization is allergic to reality, it starts treating truth like an infection. The people who bring facts are labeled negative. The people who raise concerns are labeled difficult troublemakers. The people who ask questions are labeled unmanageable.
Meanwhile, the people smiling through the collapse get promoted.
Because they make the leader comfortable.
That's not leadership. That's emotional catering.
And if comfort becomes more important than truth, failure is already in the house.
It has a badge.
And reserved parking.
And it brought donuts.
Of course it brought donuts. Bad leadership always brings donuts before layoffs.
That should be on a mug.
This portion of Truthful Manipulation is brought to you by something every organization desperately needs: a mirror. Not a branding consultant, not another retreat, not a mission statement printed on expensive foam board, a mirror. Because before a leader says the team needs to improve, maybe the leader should look in the mirror and ask, am I the reason everyone looks tired? At truthfulmanipulation.com, we talk about integrity, ethics, accountability, manipulation, and the courage to tell the truth without becoming cruel. Our book is there. The podcast is there. The message is here. And the mirror? That part you have to bring yourself. And now back to our show.
Now we need to make a distinction. Authority and leadership are not the same thing.
Correct. Authority can be assigned. Leadership must be earned.
Authority says, I have the title. Leadership says, I have the trust.
Authority says, you have to listen to me. Leadership says, I have earned your attention.
Authority can make people comply. Leadership makes people believe.
Authority can control behavior. Leadership can inspire commitment.
And bad leaders confuse obedience with respect.
That they do. They think because people are quiet, they agree.
Sometimes people are quiet because they're updating their resume.
Exactly. Silence is not always support. Sometimes silence is a survival strategy.
That's true in meetings when everybody stops talking and just starts writing notes. Those aren't notes. Those are escape plans.
A real leader does not need everyone to pretend. A real leader wants the truth early enough to fix the problem.
And there's a big difference in that. Bad leaders don't want the truth until after the damage becomes public.
And by then, they do not want the truth. They want a statement.
We are deeply committed to learning from this situation.
Translation, got caught. Leadership is not about being the loudest person in the room.
Thank God.
Leadership is not about dominating every conversation.
Somebody should tell conference panels.
Leadership is not about never being questioned.
Somebody should tell insecure bosses.
Leadership is not about being surrounded by people who agree with you.
Somebody should tell group chats.
Leadership is responsibility. It is service. It is judgment. It's humility. It is courage. It is accountability. It is the ability to say, I was wrong. I need to listen. We need to fix this. The blame starts with me. The credit belongs to the team.
That's what makes leadership powerful, not perfection, accountability.
Accountability. We do not need perfect leaders. They don't exist.
And if someone tells you that they are perfect, run.
Fast.
Like you just saw a raccoon wearing a crown.
We need accountable leaders, correct leaders, honest leaders, leaders who understand that the position is not a trophy, it's a responsibility.
And the position is not a throne.
It's a trust.
And when that trust is broken,
the title cannot repair it. Only accountability can.
This is where truthful manipulation comes in, because unworthy leaders don't just fall, they manipulate.
Yes, they use emotional tactics to survive the consequences of their own behavior.
Like what?
Well, first, they create false enemies. When their leadership is questioned, they redirect attention. They say, the real problem is them. The critics are jealous. The media is unfair. The employees are lazy. The customers do not understand. The board is against me. The family is ungrateful.
So instead of answering the question, they create a villain.
Correct.
That's the classic distraction.
Second, they use crisis to avoid accountability.
Can you explain that?
When pressure builds, they say, this is not the time for criticism. We need unity. We need loyalty. We need to move forward. But somehow moving forward always means do not look backward at what I did.
That's right. They burned down the kitchen and now they want everyone focused on dessert.
Exactly.
Let's not point fingers, says the person holding the matches.
Thirdly, they redefine accountability as attack. This is extremely common nowadays. Ask a fair question, and they act wounded. Raise a concern, and they accuse you of being negative. Point out a contradiction, and they say you are divisive.
So accountability becomes aggression?
Yep. And that's how manipulation protects incompetence.
The fourth tactic, they flood the room with confusion.
Yes. They make the issue so complicated that people get tired. They bury the truth under explanations, excuses, side stories, technicalities, and emotional fog.
The old strategy, if you can't defend the behavior, exhaust the audience.
Exactly.
I've been in meetings like that. By minute 45, I no longer cared who was right. I just wanted a sandwich and freedom.
That's how confusion works. People stop seeking truth because they are worn out. Fifth tactic, they surround themselves with protectors instead of truth tellers.
That's the inner circle problem.
That's it. Every unworthy leader eventually builds a wall of people whose job is not to tell the truth. Their job is to protect the leader from the truth.
That's not a leadership team. That's a moat.
And the deeper the moat gets, the more disconnected the leader becomes from reality.
So the leader starts believing their own press release.
Yes.
That's dangerous.
Very. Because once leaders believe they are above correction, they become unsafe.
That word matters. Unsafe.
It does. Because leadership affects people. Real people. Not charts. Not slogans. Not stakeholders in a PowerPoint. People.
And if you can't care about the people affected by your decisions, you should not be making those decisions.
Correct.
This episode is brought to you by the phrase, every bad leader fears most. Can you explain that? Not yell, not attack, not insult, just calmly ask. Can you explain that? Watch what happens. A good leader will answer. A struggling leader may think. A bad leader will suddenly need to leave for another meeting. At Truthful Manipulation, we believe questions are not disrespect. Questions are how adults keep the room honest. So visit truthfulmanipulation.com for the book, the podcast, and the reminder that manipulation hates clarity. And nothing clears a room faster than one person with a calm voice, a working memory, and receipts. And now back to the conclusion of this week's episode.
Now we get to the practical question. What should people do when a leader proves they are not deserving of the position?
First, stop pretending.
Yes. That's step one. Stop pretending the problem is not the problem. Stop pretending character does not matter. Stop pretending competence does not matter. Stop pretending truth is optional. Stop pretending the leader is playing a secret genius strategy when the evidence says otherwise.
And stop pretending the smoke is just aggressive fog.
Second, name the pattern. Not just one mistake, the pattern. Do they always blame others? Do they always avoid responsibility? Do they always punish honesty? Do they always demand loyalty? Do they always rewrite the story? Do they always protect themselves first?
Patterns matter. One flat tire is unfortunate. 4 flat tires in the steering wheel in the trunk means we have a bigger problem.
Third, protect the mission, not the ego. This is critical. In families, companies, churches, mosques, synagogues, teams, governments, and communities, the mission must be bigger than the leader.
If the mission only survives when somebody questions the leader, it's not a mission. It's a personality cult with refreshments.
Hear ye, hear ye.
And usually bad coffee.
Always bad coffee. Fourth, tell the truth responsibly.
That means don't become reckless. Don't become cruel. And don't become dishonest in response to dishonesty.
I heard that. Truthful manipulation does not mean you manipulate back. It means you use truth, ethics, clarity, humor, and courage to resist manipulation.
Because if you become the thing you're fighting, the bad leader still shaped you.
That's exactly right, Dave.
Fifth, build accountability before crisis.
Yes, indeed. Healthy systems do not wait until everyone is on fire to ask who has the extinguisher.
Or who locked it in the executive restroom.
Accountability should be built into the culture. Transparent decisions, clear standards, honest feedback, independent review, protection for truth tellers, real consequences.
Because without consequences, accountability is just a decorative word.
Yep. A poster on the wall does not create integrity.
I've seen those posters. Integrity, excellent, trust. Hanging right outside the office where everybody is lying.
The poster is not the problem.
No, but sometimes the poster is the only honest employee. We should make something clear. A leader making a mistake does not automatically mean they're unworthy.
True. Everyone makes mistakes. Good leaders make mistakes. Great leaders make mistakes. The issue is not whether a leader fails. The issue is how they respond when they fail.
That's important. Failure can teach, failure can humble, failure can strengthen judgment, and failure can reveal character.
Indeed. A worthy leader can fail and grow. An unworthy leader fails and blames.
A worthy leader says, "Here's what I learned." An unworthy leader says, "Here's why this was actually someone else's fault."
That's what they do.
A worthy leader repairs damage. An unworthy leader repairs image.
Come on with more of that.
A worthy leader listens. An unworthy leader hires a communications team.
And sometimes both are needed.
True, but if the apology has 12 consultants and no accountability, I'm suspicious.
And we should be.
There's a difference between a leader who had a bad day and a leader who has a bad pattern.
And that's the distinction. We should leave room for growth. But we should not use growth as an excuse to ignore repeated harm.
That's where people get manipulated. They confuse forgiveness with access.
And very importantly, remember, you can forgive someone and still remove them from leadership. Forgiveness does not require giving someone the keys again.
Exactly. If someone crashes the bus, I can forgive them, but I'm not handing them another bus full of children and saying, let's see what happens.
Now that's wisdom.
And basic transportation policy.
A leader who has caused damage may deserve dignity. They may deserve fairness. They may deserve a chance to repair. But that does not mean they automatically deserve continued authority.
And authority is not a consolation prize.
Right?
You don't get to keep power just because consequences make you sad.
I'm hearing you. And this is where ethics matters. Accountability is not revenge. Accountability is responsibility with consequences.
Say that again, Daniel.
Accountability is not revenge. Accountability is responsibility with consequences.
That should be written on every boardroom wall, every city hall, every locker room, every church office, and every family group text.
Especially the family group texts.
Those are lawless territories.
This matters because trust is fragile.
Very fragile.
Institutions depend on trust. Companies depend on trust. Governments depend on trust. Families depend on trust. Teams depend on trust. Faith communities depend on trust. And when leaders prove unworthy, they do not just damage themselves, they damage trust in the society, in the position.
That's true. A bad CEO makes people distrust management. A bad politician makes people distrust government. A bad pastor makes people distrust faith. A bad coach makes players distrust authority. And a bad parent makes children distrust safety.
That's why leadership failure matters. It spreads.
Like glitter.
What?
Bad leadership's like glitter. You think it's contained, but 6 months later, it's still showing up in places it should never be.
That's weirdly accurate, Dave.
Thank you.
When a leader breaks trust, the next leader has to work twice as hard to rebuild it.
Because people are not just responding to the new leader, they're still carrying the damage from the old one.
Yep, exactly. That's why unworthy leadership is not temporary. The person may leave, but the damage remains. Trust has to be rebuilt. Culture has to be required, repaired, remade. People have to heal. Systems have to change.
So what does worthy leadership look like?
A worthy leader understands that the position belongs to the mission, not to their ego.
A worthy leader listens before the crisis.
A worthy leader welcomes truth tellers.
A worthy leader shares credit.
A worthy leader accepts responsibility.
A worthy leader can apologize without needing a parade.
A worthy leader does not confuse criticism with betrayal.
And a worthy leader doesn't need every room to clap.
A worthy leader does not make loyalty more important than honesty.
A worthy leader protects people from harm.
And when a worthy leader realizes they can no longer serve the role well, they step aside with dignity.
That last one is rare.
Yes, it is.
Because ego loves the chair.
Indeed.
Some people sit in the chair so long they start thinking the chair is part of their body.
And someone asks them to move, they act like it's a medical procedure.
I can't step down the chair and I have merged.
That's not leadership. That is upholstery possession.
I don't know what that means, but I support it.
We also have to talk about the responsibility of followers.
That's where people get quiet.
They shouldn't. Because followers are not powerless. Followers decide what they excuse. Followers decide what they normalize. Followers decide what they defend. And followers decide what they ignore, what their truth matters or not.
That's a serious responsibility.
Yes, it is. Bad leaders survive when enough people decide comfort is safer than truth.
And sometimes people say, well, what can I do?
You can start by refusing to lie for the leader.
That's big.
You can refuse to repeat excuses you know are false. And you can refuse to attack truth tellers. You can refuse to call accountability disloyalty. You can refuse to confuse criticism with hatred. And you can refuse to protect the title at the expense of the truth.
And you can ask better questions.
Always.
Questions like, what happened? Who was harmed? Who benefited? Who's being blamed? Who's being silenced? Who's being protected? And what would accountability look like?
That's how manipulation gets exposed.
Not always by shouting, sometimes by asking one question nobody wanted answered. And humor helps.
It does.
Because bad leaders love fear. They love tension. They love making the room feel heavy.
Humor can break the spell.
Yes, not cruel humor, not cheap shots, but honest humor. The kind that says, wait a minute, are we all pretending that makes sense?
Humor can puncture false importance.
That's why insecure leaders hate it.
That's why they hate it. Because humor reminds everyone the emperor may not have clothes.
Or pants.
Please keep it professional here now, Dave.
I'm trying.
Try harder, man.
The emperor has no quarterly strategy.
Better.
Thank you.
Truth and humor together are powerful. Truth keeps us honest. Humor keeps us human. Without truth, humor becomes cruelty. Without humor, truth can become bitterness.
And that's the balance. Tell the truth, keep your humor, don't become what you're fighting.
Oh, that's it. That's ethical resistance.
So what happens when leaders prove they're not deserving of the position they hold? First, trust starts cracking.
Then excuses start multiplying.
Then truth tellers start getting labeled as problems.
Then loyal people start becoming silent.
Then good people start leaving.
Then the mission starts bending around the ego of the leader.
Then everybody has to decide, are we protecting the mission? Or are we protecting the person who's damaging it?
This is the moment. This is the test.
Because leadership is not proven by the title.
Leadership is proven by the behavior.
The title may get you into the room,
but character determines whether you deserve to stay there.
And when leaders show us who they are,
we should believe the evidence.
Not the slogan.
Not the speech.
Not the excuses.
Not the loyal defenders.
Not the fog machine.
Definitely not the fog machine.
That thing is suspicious.
The position is not sacred because a person holds it. The position is sacred because of the responsibility attached to it. And when the person holding the position violates that responsibility, accountability is not optional.
It's necessary.
Yes, it's necessary.
Not because you hate leaders.
Because leadership matters.
Not because we want people to fail.
Because failure without accountability becomes permission.
Not because we expect perfection.
But because we expect honesty.
That's the heart of it. We don't need perfect leaders. We need honest ones. Correctable ones. Responsible ones. Leaders who understand that the chair is not a throne.
And the title is not a shield.
And loyalty is not silence.
And accountability is not betrayal.
And truth is not disrespect.
Exactly. When a leader proves they are not deserving of the position they hold, the question is not only about them, it's about us.
What will we excuse?
What will we defend?
What will we ignore?
What will we normalize?
And when will we finally say enough? So here's the closing thought. A bad leader with no accountability becomes a long-term problem.
A bad leader with accountability becomes a temporary problem.
That's the difference.
And that difference depends on whether people have the courage to tell the truth.
Even when it's uncomfortable?
Especially when it is uncomfortable.
Because comfort has protected a lot of bad leadership.
Too much.
And silence has given a lot of undeserving leaders extra time in chairs they should have left a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Maybe that's the real test of a society. Not whether bad leaders appear, they always appear.
The real test is whether people keep handing them permission.
The title doesn't make the person worthy.
The person proves whether they are worthy of the title.
And when they stop proving it,
then the rest of us have a responsibility to stop pretending.
That's not rebellion.
That's accountability.
That's not disrespect.
That's integrity.
That's not negativity.
That's the truth.
And truth, when used with ethics, courage, and humor,
is still the best tool we have.
Even if the leader hates the toolbox.
Especially then.
For Truthful Manipulation, I'm Dave.
And I'm Daniel.
Tell the truth.
Keep your humor.
Ask who benefits.
And never confuse a title with character.
We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to Truthful Manipulation, the show that asks the questions your group chat keeps avoiding. Got a comment, question, complaint, or a topic you think Daniel and I should argue about? Email us at truthfulmanipulation@gmail.com. Visit truthfulmanipulation.com for more episodes, articles, and the link to buy our book, Truthful Manipulation, A Roadmap to Live By. Please like, share, follow, and subscribe. It helps the show. And unlike most advice on the internet, it actually takes less than 10 seconds. Until next time, check the facts, question the motive, keep your sense of humor, and most of all, never become customer service for the lie.